Bienvenue, welcome come on in, as the late Madeline Kahn said in Blazing Saddles. And welcome to your Friday Nooner with me, Dave LaMont. Delighted you could make it in. I have a wonderful guest coming up, and a unique man that I've known for many, many years who's got a hell of a story to tell. And he's told the story many times, and he's never tired of it. And I know the story pretty well. He's going to share it with you about a genuine transformation. Also, I'm going to drag him back into the college sports world. He was a one-time college administrator, sports administrator, and a couple of issues here I want to talk to him about. So it's going to be a fascinating conversation. While I await his arrival, let me just get into a couple of things. First off, and I'm going to definitely talk to Neal Bendesky as my guest, who some of you may have heard of as the 199 guy. Others, longtime friends of mine, know Neal from his days at UM. College football is headed toward a larger playoff, which was inevitable. And they had sort of a preliminary meeting to discuss what to do. And what they're thinking of is that 12 is a great number. And this is what I'm thinking of. I'll go into more detail later. 12 is 4 too many. Not far too many, 4 too many. I was okay with the 4. So basically, you want to just beat the snot out of these kids to win a title and to keep Twitter happy. And also, and you are talking to a University of Miami alumni, even I think what Notre Dame is going to get out of this is a screw job. So we'll save that because Neal just checked in, and that's one of the things among many that I want to talk to him about. But my gut reaction to this is it's different. It does have a few things I like. It's too much football. Well, Dave, Division II and Division III has playoffs, and nobody says it's too much football. Well, first off, they play shorter regular seasons. That always helps. We'll get into that in a little bit. The other thing is just a brief couple words on the NBA. Been watching that Bucks Nets series more than the West Coast stuff because, frankly, it's late. And I don't like what I see of the Bucks. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, what's changed? Oh, I know. The opponent's better. Turns out that your Miami Heat really weren't that good after all, and certainly weren't playing very well. And the Bucks came up with a lovely game plan to throttle one player because they only had to worry about one player, and that was Jimmy Butler. Now, they're trying to throttle Kevin Durant. Good luck with that. But they're still Kyrie Irving. And even with James Harden out, the Nets are, I think, the better team. I don't like the way Milwaukee runs their offense. And I understand they run it through one person. And I'd be pretty damn tempted, too, if I had a talent like that. But if Chris Middleton's not making shots, I don't know if I can name anybody else on the Bucks. Oh, Lopez. Okay, there's 3. They need to look better. Their ball, I don't know. There's nothing fluid about what they do. And I still think, even with Harden on the bench, I think the Nets are the better team. I don't think the Nets can win the title without him. I'm not completely subscribing into this. Well, Brooklyn's better without Harden because he's such a ball hog. No, they're not better without a guy who can score like that. Sorry. Not buying that theory ever. So I still think the Nets are going to win that series in the, oh my God, they better win this game or else game. Milwaukee did do that last night. Ugly, but who cares? It's a win. The best team in the NBA at the very moment, Phoenix. I don't know how you dispute that. They're humming along right now. That Memphis-Utah series, Utah's probably going to take that. So Phoenix, Phoenix-Utah series, sorry, you're going to have to, take a late shot of some kind of espresso, a little cortadita or something to get you through. I think that could be some spectacular basketball if that became the Western Conference Finals. So just a couple of thoughts on all of that. But I know my guest also has other things to do with his life, so I'm not going to waste any more of my time. Let's waste his time. There he is. Ladies and gentlemen, he has posted himself as the 199 guy, but I know him as Neal Bendesky, and somebody I've known literally for decades. And I'm delighted to, first off, see you. I just had a guy on the other day who I had not literally seen in years. So to physically see your punum is wonderful. And welcome to the show. Yeah, man.
Thank you, Dave.
Maybe not that far.
Okay.
Where do we go? I started out with the administrative stuff, but let's get into your journey and why you are known as the 199 guy. And when I remembered Neal Bendesky before you left South Florida and went on to do several college administrative jobs, you were a little bit larger than normal man, larger than healthier. You have admitted openly that you got a little bit out of control. How did it all happen that you felt that you transform your body in the wrong way first?
I think that, first of all, thank you for having me on. After I watched a couple of your recent Nooners where you had the guy in the kayak, talking about his journey. We all have a story, right?
Yep.
You have a story, I have a story. So, basically in a nutshell, I kind of parallel my wellness story is when I was a younger person, 13 years old, I was becoming a man, in my particular religion. And, Tony Fiorentino, the great Heat coach, said something to me recently. He says, I was speaking to a group in Miami Beach, and I said to them, do you know what a bar mitzvah is? And here's this group of, Jewish gentlemen, and they're listening to this. What are you, crazy? You're Gentile. What are you doing here, right? and Tony says, no, a bar mitzvah is when a young man becomes a man and realizes that the best way he's going to be in professional sports is as an owner, not as a player, right? I'm in the same boat. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't a player. I was a student manager. That's how I earned my college education at the University of Cincinnati. I came down to St. Thomas, at the time, Biscayne College, and worked with the great Ken Zibler. So, had those opportunities, to grow. But the pressure of that job put me in a space. And like you said, when I was in South Florida, I was, over 300 pounds. Okay. I'm doing my thing. For those of you that don't remember, my quick history is, I ended up, after, getting my master's, going and working at the Olympic Training Center. So I got my gold medal was my wife because we were working at USA Basketball and Colorado Springs, and 39 years later, we're still together. Okay. We have two beautiful boys, Justin and Logan. Bigger picture than that, as far as moving forward professionally, not my life, of course, but, bigger picture than that, David, what kind of went down was I'm always serving somebody else. I'm sure everybody in the audience can relate to that. You're always kind of serving your family, your career, your life. In our case, I got the opportunity to work in the old USFL first. I promoted the great Jim Kelly, with the Houston Gamblers.
I didn't know that. How did I miss that?
So, we did a lot of crazy things. And again, one of the things I said to you earlier this morning when we were texting a few times is that, hey, I'm always willing to talk about promotions because with the Gamblers, we used to drop 2 dice from the top of the Astrodome. And if they landed on 7 or 11, everybody in the Astrodome won something. We made it fun. But behind the scenes, there was a lot of pressure in order to, maintain. You put the long hours in, you ate irregularly, you didn't really understand, I didn't, nutrition. So then I ended up going to New Jersey with former President Donald Trump, and that team he built the USFL, as we say. He had Herschel and Doug Flutie and Jim Kelly. He built it and he killed it. So we won $3. We weren't going to play for many bills, with that type of situation. So
and let me stop you for a second. Let me just explain what he means by won $3. The USFL and the NFL got tangled in court, and the USFL was declared the winner, and the damages were $1, which were trebled or tripled. And why they don't just say tripled, I'll never know. And that's the $3 that Neal is talking about there. I remember hearing that and kind of going, oh, well, that's the end of those guys. Anyway.
Well, my wife was actually working for Becton Dickinson, David, and what ended up happening is I went to go pick her up, and I heard the USFL has won the lawsuit, right? But at the end of the day, we won, to your point, $1 times 3, antitrust laws at the time. So, we weren't going very far. So it was the $3 league, I think, somebody wrote a book later in that reference. I went back to my alma mater, and we started getting into sponsorships. And then my boss, Carl Meyer, great man, ended up going to work with Sam Jankovic and C. Dangerfield and Bam Young and a lot of great names, your alma mater. And that was a great run. We did a lot of things. And I felt myself so committed, like Jose Sotolongo, my brother from another mother with the Miami Sports Commission. He would tell people how we had Domino's Pizza as a sponsor. Dude, I could eat 2 extra large, double pepperoni, extra cheese pizzas with no water, no beverages. And I was just doing my thing, right? So that adds up in a negative way. We all have our things. I was a binge eater. I tell people, this is non-sports related, that my story is very much like, if you ever seen the movie Crazy Heart,
Remind me.
It was Jeff Bridges. He was a country singer.
That I've heard of it. I don't think it yet.
Yeah, he wanted an Oscar. And basically, in a nutshell, I see this movie and a lot of parallels. What do I mean? He was a country western singer by the name of Bad Blake. He was an alcoholic. I was a binge eater. Okay. He was 57 years old. I was 57 years old. He wrote a song for Colin Farrell in the movie that led to, some prominence again. And he made the comment to his manager, "I still told you there was gas in the tank." And that's how the message today is, that it's never too late to mount a comeback. I'm here in Phoenix. I go to a gym. It's my job to do something for sponsorships. In this case, Arts Theory Fitness, which, has its back headquarters in Boca. And, big picture is, I've, kind of had this goal. And then the last part of the goal is, one of my mentors has a book called The Power of Who. I would encourage listeners to read that. It's a great foundation book about, especially after COVID. You look at your inner circle of 12 people. That's what Bob talks about. And then you kind of stay within that inner circle to help get your world. A lot of people will say, "Hey, I have 100 accounts. What do you do?" I always have a strategy in business that I'm going to customer service with our staff, because we had great staffs, in South Florida. We're going to customer service those people so well that we're going to get new quality clients based on referrals. I'm not a big cold call guy, okay? Never have been, okay? Now, big picture is, all that is adding up. And my wife and I, unfortunately, we went from the University of Miami, good situation, to the Marlins in the beginning. Got solid with the president, as you know, Mr. Huizinga, great owner. Right. Other than what people say about, taking the team away in 99, right? And I get that part of the business.
Well, no, it was 94 was the disaster. 99, it happened again, but 94 was the one that people I think are still mad about. And it's really weird because it was so long ago, but and that's just my opinion. And I know you're wearing old-fashioned Marlins gear today.
I wore that today for my
place. Yeah. But I'll be honest with you, Neal, not to take a too far on a ramp to get you back to where you were, but I think 94 really frosted some flakes. And having it happen one more time has, I think, still resonated. Anyway.
So then I go to the Heat and, helped get what has now been renamed, but at the time, the American Airlines Arena. And, and then it was time to move on. Okay, corporate America isn't always fair to you. Not fair to me. It wasn't fair to me. And, we all have our moments. And we then my wife and I, Laura, were victims of identity theft. It's tough. We have 2 boys. They only knew one house. Our sons loved baseball. We did travel ball. We were known as the Big Red Machine, and good stuff. But I was able to do the Mercedes-Benz corporate run. Still do it. Thanks to Team Footworks and Derakotas and, Lori and JP, people part of that group that, that are potential listeners and should know how great Dave LaMont is. But more importantly, relative to what I'm saying is that I go to a point, and I'm Blake James, who's a dear friend of mine, athletic director at the University of Miami, and he says, Neal, the only way you're going to get back in the game is get in the game. So I took a job, David, at the University of South Dakota. People said to me, dude, what are you doing going to South Dakota? Is that, like they thought I was crazy. So when I got there, I told people my name wasn't really Neal Bendesky. I said I was part of the Witness Protection Program. Why would I go from South Florida to South Dakota? I mean, dude, there was a day, January, where we couldn't park at the old Dakota Dome, which a lot of people don't know. Joe Robbie was part of the team, because he's from South Dakota,
right?
The Joe Robbie, that led to where we played, the Dakota Dome. My point is, it was 65 below. I was cold going from the parking lot to my office. It took 3 hours to thaw out. That was interesting. And then, people would look at my size. I got over 400 pounds. And it's like, I would tell people that I wanted to be the president of the Anorexic Society, but I ate too many ribs at a local restaurant friend, Jerry, in South Dakota. So, big picture is I wasn't in a good space. I was 1 foot from the grave. I needed to figure some things out. And, over the last couple of years, since 2014, I did that. And Bob Bodine, like I said, who wrote The Power of Who, I came here to Phoenix. It was my job to get a sponsor. I got Orange Theory Fitness, and I meet somebody that was the athletic director at Grand Canyon. I'm sure people that are listening have reached a point where they look at their looks, their appearance. What is going to make the difference when you go in for that job interview? Okay, whether it's virtually or in person. And in my case, I didn't look the part. I'm promoting athletics, and I'm not looking the part. And oh, by the way, I'm over 50 years old. So there's a lot of issues, relative to what wasn't adding up in the right direction. So I called Bob Bodine, who wrote this book, like I said, The Power of Who, and I said, dude, I just met this guy that you placed, because that's what he does. And quite frankly, I'm motivated now. I'm going to lose 199 pounds, and you are going to be my agent. And sure enough, after I did, he's a minority owner of the Texas Rangers. I was at a wedding in Austin. I drove across on 5E, and I met him at his country club, and we laughed like hell. And we still talk quite frequently. But at the end of the day, the first thing that happened was, for anybody else out there, you might have 20 pounds after COVID, 50 pounds. Not many people have to lose over 199 pounds. I ended up losing 261 pounds. Okay, I'm half the man I used to be. So what you said from yesteryear, it's ugly, but who cares, right? I mean, I'm married, I'm happy, and yeah. But I feel better, and I tell people the goal is in nutrition. That's what 80% of it is nutrition. Is to basically do this. Think about how better nutrition can energize your life, your family, and your career. And oh, by the way, David, one thing that we can't have too often that you and I both love when we travel, Skyline Chili in Cincinnati, Ohio, right?
Luckily, it's not that of, although, I could walk out of here right now. I won't do it while you're here, and I could be at one in 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, Laura Courtly Todd, who we both love from St. Thomas, her and her daughter Sydney, they go to that one on University. But my brother, who lives in West Palm, who guards Joe Scarborough, the famous reporter, whatever, he says he went to the one on US 1 because there used to be 2 Skylines.
Right.
And it closed.
They sold it. The family sold it. The guy
Yeah.
was 74, I think, and had just had enough.
Yes.
And so that story broke, what are we, June? I'd say about 3-4 months ago. That was the location that I first went to because I lived in Wilton Manors at the time when I was a young guy.
Yep.
Before I moved out. And my buddy and I would just go there. We didn't need an excuse. And being young, we could throw it down with the best of them. Now, if I order pretty conservatively. Back then, hell no. So that's what happened. But luckily, the one near here is family run, and I think it's going to stay.
Well, big picture is what is Skyline Chili for those people in South Florida? Basically, in a nutshell, it's not your typical chili. I call it a treat meal. Okay, it's not hot. I think it's chocolate based.
There's chocolate in the recipe. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you basically get a basic three-way with your spaghetti noodles, and you put your chili on it and your cheese, and then you have the oyster crackers. So that's your basic three-way, right?
Right. I do a beans.
So what were you, a 3 or 4 or 5?
I do 4. No onions, but I do a bean product. Absolutely.
Well, especially when especially since you have such a beautiful wife, you don't want to do anything with onions, right?
I still like cold onions. And by the way, she's Cincinnati native also. So it's not like we don't know our way around the Cincinnati food chain, because we do. I can tell you where to go. Or if you have any fresh markets, I know you don't want to check the ice cream section, but just stick your head in the door and see if they have graters there. I'm not telling you to buy it because I know you won't. But the one near me, that's the other thing. I can go 10 minutes in another direction and come out with this much graters, which I don't need, and I don't do, sadly. But yeah, so I guess, all right. So I've never asked you this. I have to ask you this. Why 199? Because did you think that number would be the most memorable one that would really stick when you talked about your story?
Well, I told you I love baseball, right?
Mm-hmm.
So remember the movie Mr. 3000?
Vaguely, with Bernie Mac, right?
Absolutely. So again, a lot of what, for those who don't remember, but when I was in South Florida, we sold corporate sponsorships. We did promotions and we did in-game entertainment. Bob Becker, Pete Soto, great. Point I'm making is that I'm always watching movies to try to, get inspired. Mom took me to see Rocky when, in the beginning, so it was a positive thing for me. And, we've all grown up, from that era, with a Rocky, with inspiration. Our boys know that. So I would tell you that movie, Bernie Mac's movie, where he accepted, in that movie, he wanted to get in the Hall of Fame. He thought he had to have 3,000 hits. He had 3 hits taken from him.
Right.
He came back, and he got and the last at bat, he had an opportunity to do something positive for the team. He was a big ego, but he focused on helping other people, which is what I'm about. And at the same time, you can get into that swagger mode in life and you forget it's not about what you think. It's about what you can help others feel. It's not always what you say. It's how you make people feel.
What you do,
so
yeah.
In my case, that movie, like I said, so he accepted, and he bunted instead of going for his last at bat for a hit in the last game, and the team scored the winning run and was considered a sacrifice, and he ended up as the 299 guy.
Oh.
299 was too much for me based on what I weighed. I didn't think I could ever get to 160, so I just threw it at 199, and there it went.
It's clever as hell, though, Neal. I'm dead serious, and I know you know your way how to. I know you know marketing, and I know you know how to promote, and whether it's when you're talking about yourself or during your career, and I think it's really clever as hell. It sticks out. It sticks out better than 200 or 198. It's really weird, but it works. I have to give you a lot of credit for that, and I realize there was a practical reason behind it, but it's memorable.
Well, there's also, as you mentioned, marketing. There's a double whammy to it. So the initial goal when I basically was engaged. Okay, there's different scenarios. Like right now, Orange Theory is considering me as an ambassador, for their brand. And my point is that that's 20%. I said that to you earlier. But when you really put it in focus relative to the 199, is that, think in terms of 199, you didn't get to 200. Are you really satisfied? You know what I mean? It's never too late to get satisfied. Plus, I lost 261 pounds. I won't lie, relative to along the way, you're going to have roadblocks. It's not necessarily, we've had these conversations, you got to be comfortable with who you are, in terms of what you want to do for your life. And I said this, your life, your family, and your career. So in my particular case, after getting into, this program, I could walk around the block. Now I've done 14 marathons in 13 states before COVID, and I'm starting to get ready to train again. I have a special running style called T running style, which is less strain on your joints. But the other point is, at one point I did get to 189.4. That was my lowest weight. So I went from 450 to 189.4. Now I'm 205.4. So the double whammy is if I didn't get under, if I got back over 199, then I still was the 199 guy because I lost over 199 pounds. So that was the marketing side of that.
An obvious question, and I think the people who are watching or will watch this later will ask is, how do you fight off temptations? How do you fight off that, that moment, to hell, I'm just have one of these. And of course, and I have had my share of binge eating, especially with sweets. One becomes 6 or 10. How do you fight that off?
Timing and moderation is what I tell people. I had this book that I kind of, my strategist is Alex Vergara. Remember Alex, right? He was the marketing director to you, and, he had a strategy. So my lead behind answering your question is, what, like if I'm talking to somebody, I've done a lot of interviews. I was in Men's Health recently, and they asked me, what are the Orange Theory words? What did they do for you? Okay. And I said, well, first of all, I got motivated. Okay. So something in your life may motivate you. Okay. I told you my story.
Right.
The second is accountability. That answers what the question you just asked me. So I use, again, just happened to be MyFitnessPal, and it's a free app. I've used it the whole time, and I basically set in my particular world, so many proteins, carbs, and fats. So if I want to have a daily goal, that's how I'm able to do it. So accountability using MyFitnessPal. I say, 1,800 to 2,000 calories. I'm going to have a treat meal. I love pizza. I love salad chili. Am I still into the desserts like I used to be? Not as much. Do I like haters that you mentioned earlier? Of course. Who doesn't like a turtle sundae? Okay. But, your wife would say that, right? But bigger picture, Dave, I would tell you that on a day-to-day basis, the hardest thing is once you get there, let's say you lose 10 pounds, 20 pounds, whatever it is, a regular person. I wanted to become a regular person. I told Mark Geddes many years ago, because I was a pogo stick. I said, do I look normal now? Because, you find that internally when you go up. Now, forget the fact that I'm in, I promote professional and collegiate athletes. Just talk in terms of, big picture on a day-to-day basis. So, I was, there's really lonely moments. It's not easy. And it's like, you can laugh at me, but the guy that owns, Orange Theory is, got a corporate office. We know that. And they have 77, they have an owner that owns 77 locations. And the guy says to me, don't take this the wrong way, but would you like to be the Jared of Orange Theory, my 77 locations? And I said, well, I know the real story. I actually know the guy that made the decision. So where Jared was at Indiana University, right? And he was doing what he did always. But the guy, the marketing guy, called up the general manager at the Subway at Indiana University and said, did this guy eat Subway for a year? And he did. Okay. Yeah. Well, in my case, sustainability was the big issue. I wasn't the world's biggest loser where they did a program on NBC, and they had a hot trainer, and they gave you meds, and you exercised and all this stuff. Dude, I mean, in 30 minutes, I'll go and do an intense 55 minutes in Orange Theory Fitness. That'll be a treadmill. That'll be exercises on the floor. That'll be a water roar. I'll stretch. I'll foam roll. I mean, there's things that add up to the day-to-day based on your goals. So what happens is your goals take over your nutrition. If you want to get where you want to get, and you want to be a weekend warrior, you want to go hike with, or you just want to walk around the block, I think that you have to basically realize it is not a diet. Neal Bendesky was on a diet and failed. The 199 guy transformed. Okay.
Got it.
This is a lifestyle. This is a lifestyle. And as all of this come back, from COVID, and there's some positive things happen, think about just in my profession. I don't work a day-to-day, sports marketing job. I happen to have the pleasure, and we've had this conversation of I have a great guy, Alan Paul Silverstein, that created a platform for augmented reality. And, what we're doing is creating virtual engagement on a mobile phone. There's 5 billion mobile phones. It's a very positive thing, in our industry. But along the way, what happens is you'll pick up a phone and you'll call somebody at the U or, the heat, whatever it may be. And a lot of them don't have the same staff numbers, but they still have an expectation by an owner. And that's the stress that got me. And right now, my biggest concern is to try to help people realize that your question a few minutes ago, which was a great one, going back to it. In the beginning, it's timing. Don't eat past 9 o'clock. Moderation. You want to have, donut, have one donut. Don't have 2 donuts. Give your appetite, your palate, something they like, and then you decide. Make it your world. Go back to the focus. Motivation, accountability, sustainability. If you focus on those 3 things. Now, for me, during the pandemic, people thought I was crazy. I'm going to tell you something that I would not recommend, okay? So during the pandemic, gyms were closing down.
Right.
You couldn't do anything. People were saying, well, what are you going to do, right? So I decided to start walking, and the American Heart Association says do 10,000 steps. So I decided to add 1,000 more. So I started a streak, and I just celebrated walking a year of 11,000 or more steps. And I think I sent you a graphic. It added up to over 4,775,000 steps. I almost walked across America. But you know what? It was really focused for mental health.
Yeah. And
now I'm at 388. I decided I'm in the 9s. You get that, okay? So I'm going to get to 399. I actually have a young protege. He's 55. He's an assistant manager here in the Valley, as we call it. Of an Outback, Daryl, love him. And he kind of read my Facebook post, because you don't know if you impact one person, 1,000 people, but in this case, I impacted him. He got involved in a lot of things that we do, and now he's over 200. And I said, dude, I'm stopping at 399 because I'm going to get with my running coach in South Florida, Adolfo Segarro. You remember Adolfo? That used to be with him.
I know the name, yeah.
Yeah. So he's done Berlin and New York Marathon. So, I'm not going to ever be the Boston Marathon guy like Jose Sotolongo. Okay? But it's not about finish times. It's about finishing.
Yeah.
And if you relate that to your life, come up with a finish line. Where do you see yourself? I tell people in the book that Alex and I got together, I'll read you one last thing, relative to what is like. I'm reading a book right now, and the strategy is about other people. So, when you really put it down in perspective, the first thing that we wrote is, you remember Rembrandt the painter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the concept is, if you, Dave, Neal, Joe, Sarah, Jennifer, whoever is out there listening, okay, if you are Rembrandt the painter and you were painting an image of yourself today, and you were painting one of what you want to be, what would that look like? It's on you.
Oh.
You see, and so it's kind of, you got to see yourself being there because, like I said by minutes ago, there are those lonely moments. When you wonder, why am I doing this? Or who's really going to know? All these type of different things that come into play. Another thing that comes out is, what is your pivot point? What was the moment? Okay. Now, I tell a story that our son Dustin, was working in St. Louis. I was, on my way back. I went to go to the St. Louis University, and he was working at a Jet's Pizza, right? And I ordered 2 slices of pizza, right? And, many of us are, sitting there and we like something, right? It's that moderation statement. And I said, no, listen, how about another slice? And he brought out a salad. He said, Dad, I think it's time for a salad. Here's my point, is that I heard him, but I didn't listen.
Gotcha.
How many people are in that mode?
Oh, I get it. I'm accused of that frequently, yes.
and you know what? Again, this is about, like I said, the word diet, but back to focus. What was my pivot point? So I go to Orange Theory. I told you it's my job. And, Ken Dye, who's the head coach here of the Rattlers, very successful, he was actually the defensive coordinator for what was the old Florida Bobcats. Remember?
I did their games one year.
And they had a head coach, Dave, and he's the one that told me. He was our defensive coordinator with KG here. So he had he had my back, and he said, hey, Orange Theory, there's this guy, Parrish Lamb, you might know. He can hook you up. I met the owners. Parrish is in South Florida. Anyway, big picture is, I did Orange Theory, August 23rd, 2015. For the first 5 weeks, I failed because I just was eating whatever I worked off, right?
Right.
I walked, and they did a good job of moderating it, because you got to remember, I'm 400 pounds, right? I'm not going very far, but the bigger picture is, on October 12th, 2015, I was wearing a 5X red top from the University of South Dakota. There was a nice 3-year-old boy playing with his game in the lobby, waiting for his mother, Andrea, to work out. And little Max became my guardian angel. And you know what he said? Are you Santa Claus? My initial reaction wasn't PG-13. I went, ho, 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 what do I got to do? And next thing I know, I learned the value of nutrition through our trainer. So, these are the kind of things that happen, listening and hearing, pivot point. If there's one person out there from today's nooner, first of all, I got to say this because you didn't give me a chance in the beginning. I love Dave LaMont. Okay, Dave LaMont is a great ambassador for his profession. Okay, not only is he got the great voice, right? But he's really a wonderful thing. And it's like, I heard you mention, and this is how proud you were of a recent women's bowler that was your partner, in the broadcast.
Yeah,
and she worked her way back, and she won an event recently, and you mentioned
last Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned something about her nutrition. You see, people kind of reach that point where they know within themselves. They don't need to be told. Now, granted, I had my pivot point. I told you what my son said.
Right.
But we all have our moments. And by the way, before we get off, and I'm not sure what the time's here, but one other thing I'm going to mention that I think is significant is that you, and this is sports, forget my journey for a minute. You said the Suns are possibly the best team in the NBA. You know who their general manager is, right?
Yeah.
He's a former guy, James Jones.
That's right.
You know,
he's a local all the way. If I remember, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because I think he did he go to high school in South Florida, maybe? And then, you know, he ended up, I know LeBron loved him when he came and played for the Heat.
I have to not confuse him with.
I know you're thinking about too.
I'm thinking Eddie Jones, who went to Ely. So James Jones, okay. I believe, is a Miami, is a city of Miami product. But I will look that up. All right, let me ask you before.
Go.
All right, two things, and I know you do have to be someplace in about 19 minutes. So you tell me when you need to wave the surrender flag. This is a yes or no question. You've mentioned you've run marathons. Do you have one of those 26.2 stickers on your car? Yes or no?
13.1.
You know what the comedians say about you? You're a quitter.
No. I'm a what?
You're a quitter. There was some comic, I forgot, it might have been Daniel Tosh. I laughed so hard when I saw that because I see the 26.2, the 13.1, and he goes, I'm not impressed. You know what I think? Quitter. You're only halfway there, You know
what? If it makes someone else out there laugh, I'm happy because at the end of the day,
I can do 13.1 in a car, and I can do it on a bike if I'm wearing a really good pair of bike shorts. But that's it. My running days are literally over. So that's just a little busting your stones there. All right. Last thing before you go. Let me draw on your background as somebody who's been very active in college sports for many years. The playoff committee met yesterday. It's this little 4-person body of folks, and they're talking about maybe expanding from 4 to 12 teams with first-round byes for teams 1, 2, 3, 4. Notre Dame could never have a bye because they don't belong in the conference, and there's a bunch of other details. I don't know how much you have been paying attention to this. This only happened yesterday, but I'm fascinated because I know you have an opinion. What you think of all of this?
Well, I mean, there isn't a quick answer. Like, the one you asked me was a yes/no answer. First of all, one of my dearest friends is does sponsorships for the CFP, and many of you remember in the beginning, the now athletic director, who's a St. Thomas guy at South Florida, Michael Kelly. He was a big part of the beginnings of that program. Kenny Elder does the sponsorships again. These are all people a part of our world for a long time. But the picture is, I'm going to break it down. I'm going to ask you a question. Why is Notre Dame not in a conference right now?
The answer is because they're Notre Dame and they can get away with it in football. They can't get away with it in basketball. So that's where they link arms with the ACC. This may force them to do it. And the ACC seems like because nothing is more coastal than South Bend, Indiana. So it seems, that the ACC is the place to go for them, although the Big Ten is way too logical. But I'm wondering, Neal, if this is going to force Notre Dame to join a conference. If they go 13-0 one year, a legit 13-0 or 12-0 and beat some good teams, but as an independent without a conference title game, is it fair to them that they don't get that opportunity to sit one out? I don't know.
Last I checked, there's well over 200 teams, and I know Notre Dame has marquee value, but at the end of the day, I think that student athletes benefit from the CFP, just like they benefit from the final of the March Madness, okay? And as long as the model is positive for the overall student athletes, in athletics, then obviously that's a positive thing. Now we're starting to talk about time. I just don't know if a student athlete in December can do that. Okay. Now, I remember, you remember Art Kehoe, of course.
Of course.
And he used to say something to me that got my attention when we would get picked at the U, the old format. And you have to go 30 days, before you play again. I mean, here you are, hot as heck, leading into in November, and then we play a Thanksgiving game, and then we don't play a bowl game for a while. Okay, and so I don't know if this is a good solution, to go get them to play at a time when are the student athletes. Now that we're talking about getting paid, with the different image situation, which I'm involved in with the augmented reality. So it's like, and then, it's like, I'm not nothing to lose by saying this. I mean, you take that executive director of the NCAA, what has he really done for the overall, what did he do to the University of Miami over that 3-year stretch over the, situation with the booster? I don't even want to mention his name. Okay.
Yeah.
He's not worthy of that. But the bigger picture is it took so long for that process. It always seemed like they have these little vendettas that they have fun, and they knock somebody off, somebody. So I say this when it comes to Notre Dame, either you decide for what's best for your program, either in the conference like you were this year, where quite frankly, with Derek King, the quarterback,
Derek King.
Great.
Derek King. Yeah.
Derek King, great role model for college athletics. Okay, first and foremost, you root for that guy, right? I think.
I did.
Especially with his story from the University of Houston. And, his father passing, and he comes in, and he just fits in, and then, Brett Lashley is great offensive coordinator, is the right thing that at the university. Manny, I am a fan of Manny Diaz, because I say, who else cares enough to take what Manny represents, okay? He loves the U, his family's, within the U, and he wins, he's staying at the U. He's not going anywhere, okay?
Right.
So bigger picture is you want him to be successful. You want it good for our community, okay? But because I still believe, I lived there 23 years. But my point is, I don't want to, do anything special for Notre Dame.
Okay.
They already took us, and I don't think what just happened this year. Would the U have qualified to be in that, it was close. Notre Dame.
I mean, you would have had Clemson. Remember, there's no limit or there's no requirement that you take a conference champion, I believe, if I read that right. So I didn't look at any scenarios. You would have had App State, I think, would have gotten in. No, it was in the year before. Cincinnati gets in. And I don't think there's a team from the MAC. No, but to your point, no. I mean, that North Carolina game wiped out whatever tiny shred of chance Miami would have had when Mac kicked their ass. No, then that
Mac Jones. Not Mac Jones. Mac Brown. Yeah.
But no, Mac Jones would have kicked their ass too, Neal. I know that. So I'm curious to see how this is going to go. It's not going to happen until probably 2023, if even then. So it's going to take time to figure this whole thing out. Listen, I know you got to run. My concerns are.
I'm good. I got another minute or two, but I want to ask you another question.
Sure.
What do you think of? Look. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to tell my story.
Thank you for being here.
And you're welcome. And again, the leave behind that I share real quick. Two quick things is. We developed through Alex Vergara and a 199 guy lifestyle, where the letters of lifestyle are the success of your journey. So this is what's going to be in our book. So L stands for learn. Maybe somebody learned something today. Maybe they got inspired. That's the I. That stands for focus. We once, when I was with the Marlins, we did a sales seminar, Sam Ambrose and myself and I and a group of people, Sean Garrett, and Mike Stanfield, and we put our hands together. It says time to focus. Put your thoughts together. Okay, so you decide you're going to do this. E stands for more energy for your life, for your family, for your career. You have the first 4. You show up. That's what I'm going. That's what my dad says. Show up. Okay, S stands for staying power. T, all of us were on a team. What would our coach say? Trust the process. Okay. Y stands for you. This audience, your nooners. This is your journey, not mine. I told you mine. We all have ours. Okay. L, do it for the people that love you, that you love. And finally, E is a double whammy. 20% is exercise. People think, I'm going to the gym. No. Okay. 8% is nutrition. Hey, I heard you were walking the other day. That's a good thing. It's what you're able to do. You listen to your body. Good for you. Good for you. And at the end, it's all about attitude. And attitude is like a flat tire. We just had a flat tire. I tell people right now, in COVID times, take down your mask and smile again. We've got a lot to be thankful for. And attitude is like a flat tire. If you don't fix it, you don't go very far. And in my case, I was lucky. My wellness journey saved my life because we didn't say this, but I'll close with this. On August 2nd, 2016, so in a couple months, I'm going to celebrate this. I actually had sudden cardiac death from a hereditary issue. If I didn't do this, we wouldn't be talking right now. So I'm thankful for getting that message out. Last thing is, how will the University of Miami, how will we do this fall, starting with Alabama?
Losing. So much depends on King and how he's going to look coming off that surgery. I mean, I hate to just hang it all on him. I'm not so sure the defense. Well, of course, the defense kind of fell apart. And again, I go back to what North Carolina did. The one thing they did do that was better is they started beating the teams that they should beat, which has been a problem. The Dukes, the Georgia Techs, the Virginias were starting to get the better of them. They took care of that. The next thing they got to do is they got to beat the North Carolinas of the world and continue to beat Florida State. And let's see how far Clemson is slipping, if at all. Or is Clemson vulnerable this year? So that's a lot of questions. I'm hoping for 8 or 9. There's nothing more depressing or exhausting, Neal, and this is a habit I'm going to break, of doing that, watching a game, or maybe I'm not even able to watch a game, a Canes game, and I go, oh, let me check. Oh God, why did I do that? And I just be like, why do I do that? I'm hoping that Canes Twitter can kind of a little bit and relax, because it's gotten to the point now with Manny that everything he's doing is being criticized. Oh, he wins the offseason, but how come we can't beat North Carolina? And, that's the game that ruined everything. Any gain, Neal, that they got from other wins flushed down the toilet with that North Carolina game, because they didn't just lose 41-38. They lost by about 300-10, or so it seems. That was the biggest buzzkill I can remember around this program in a while. So they've got to – I think 8 to 9 will get people off his ass. If he goes 7-6 again, and if they phone it in a bowl game, which they've had a terrible habit of doing, then he could be in some real trouble. And I don't like that, because I like the guy, and I think he's right for the job, but he has to prove it.
Well, at the end of the day, I want our friend Harry from all Canes to sell a lot of merchandise. I love that he's got this new Howard program, the great. We're actually working on an augmented reality program with that, to be more to come that. But more importantly, go Canes.
Listen, if you need anybody to help with anything to do with Howard Schnellenberger, that man had a profound impact on my life. I miss him dearly, and I would be happy to do anything for you in that regard if there's a role for me somewhere. Anything for Howard and his family.
I will remember that, because I'll tell you more later. But, hey, I didn't realize Howard was actually undefeated in bowl games.
6-0.
Yep. 6-0. Exactly.
I did the two that he did when he coached at FAU. I remember the one in New Orleans, and why am I drawing a blank on the other one? Maybe because I had too much fun in New Orleans. But yeah, Louisville, I believe, yes. Well, he wanted to be two at FAU because one, they beat Memphis in, I don't know if it was R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl then, might have been. And God, I'm drawing a blank on the other one. But no, listen, that man gave me a hand when I needed it when he started that FAU program, and he gave me a real boost. And that's never going to be forgotten. So, all right, man, don't be late for your appointment.
Well, it's Orange Theory class. I'm 5 minutes from there, so I guess I better hit the road. And it's a pleasure. And do your thing, man. Always proud.
I will.
It's a great thing to be with you.
You too, and I know we'll be in touch again. So take good care of yourself, buddy. Thanks again.
All right, go Canes.
You got it. Neal Bendesky, the 199 guy, and as you can see, he is extraordinarily passionate about what he has gone through and a lot of other things. And I knew that we could have a discussion about more than one thing there easily with him. I don't have short phone calls with Neal. As you can see, this isn't one of the, how you doing? Oh, good. Okay, see you. Bye. No, that's not how he is. He is a person who has always lived with passion, and I'm so delighted just on a friendship basis that he has turned things around for him. And perhaps he did offer up even a sliver of advice that might help you in case you're struggling with anything. That will do it for today. Big day in our household. My wife is the CEO of the American Swim Coaches Association. Is off to the U.S. swim trials in Omaha. And the second wave, so you'll be able to watch on NBC, and I believe their Olympic channel will be carrying it. And the big names are showing up. Let's see how much Katie Ledecky wins by. A quick story. We watched the first wave. Now, let's be blunt about this. The first wave are, even though they're wonderful swimmers, they're probably not going to make the team. But they've earned the right to try. A couple of them would every time. So we would get to a Katie Ledecky event, and her world record would be on the screen. All right? Like the 400, I think it's 356.06. Off the top of my head, I'm probably slightly off. So we'd be watching these swimmers. Again, these are elite swimmers. They're great. You know, they're from different elite programs. They might be from colleges. They're really good. And they're busting their butts to try to make this Olympic team. So they're doing everything they can. And they're 15, 16, 17, 18 seconds behind her, and they win the race. Now, she's not going to break any world records at the trials, I don't think. She doesn't have to. But just to show you how dominant she is, that's absurd. Somebody is winning a race with outstanding United States swim talent, and they're 16 to 17 seconds behind the world record. It's an eternity. And to my point from a little while back, the most dominant athlete in sports, Simone Biles, wins again. A woman who's so good they don't know how to judge her with some of the moves she makes. She's doing things that aren't in any kind of a textbook. And they're screwing her on points. She may force them to either redo the scoring while she blows everybody's doors off with these unique routines that literally only she can do, or she could end up getting somewhat hosed. I don't think she will, but still. So that's two faces to watch for the Olympics. That made it easy on you. So that does it. Probably talk to you Monday. I'm leaving town Monday, but I think I have time for a quickie. And perhaps we will. Thank you. Thanks to Neal. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.